Welcome to KQEG and Seven Rivers Sports. I'm your host, Terry Erickson. Each week, an inside look into sports, into wellness, into fitness, and introduce you to some guests that you will be inspired to get to know. This week, we profiled Jason Lulloff, who is a teacher, coaches football, wrestling, strength and conditioning coach at Holmen High School. Welcome to the show, Jason.
Thanks, Terry.
Well, as we tape the show here on July 23rd, Holmen is in the middle of their contact days before summer training camp opens in early August. And I know you took a break from camp this morning. Appreciate you taking the time to be on the show. Talk about your thoughts on contact days.
It's interesting because, I'm kind of involved with some of the WIA, leadership roles, and it's obviously something that gets looked at very closely by the WIA. Are we allowing, we need to allow safety, we need to allow adequate time for different, development, and a lot of that involves a coach. And for me, I'm twisted on it. I grew up in a four-sport athlete, so I enjoyed some breaks between sport to sport, but on this side of the state, summer baseball wasn't a thing. That's how I was able to do four sports, and it's a little bit more time between, and it's just kind of interesting to me. Like, we didn't really have as many contact things in my smaller town, so that was an adjustment actually when I came over here. And as a wrestling coach, I don't capitalize too much on that. I try to let my kids go do other things because it's difficult. A lot of the contact things happen in the summer.
I know you do, and we're going to talk about growing up in Kiel High School, where you excelled. But before we do that, I'm going to just build on what you just said. Contact days, the expectations we have for athletes during the off season, every sport has expectations in the summer, sometimes even in the spring and in the off season. A lot of authors have said that is enough. There is too much pressure on high school athletes. Your thoughts?
Yeah, for the contact days, it's like if you have one piece missing and you're trying to, a football team, for example, if the quarterback can't make it, all the timing revolves around the quarterback, right? So now that pressure that you speak of falls on him or her being there. And it's like, are you letting the team down if you need a break? Or, there's so many hats all these kids wear. So, kind of getting back to that, I'm not opposed to getting rid of all contact days as far as a team thing. If an individual wants to go and work on something and excel, I think that's a lot different. Team camp, in football, if you're not doing it, you're behind. If you're doing it, you're adding the pressure to the kids. It's just kind of the system to me is it's a little bit flawed in a sense. We do put a lot of pressure on kids to do things, but then also the expectation to win is there, and
exactly.
From the kids and the parents and the community, and you as the coach want to make sure you put your kids in the best position to win, and if the rule is there, then you should probably be taking advantage of it, right?
I know the expectations are there. For example, we have two grandsons, and they're both at Logan, and they're multi-sport athletes, so their involvement in the off-season is pretty much expected, and they have bought into it. But a lot of people, question all of that. But let's just kind of go to another subject real quick. You're in contact days here now on July 23rd as we tape this show. And training camp starts in a couple of weeks, early in August. Some writers, some experts, many people think football starts too early, Coach. Because the summer, there's a month left in the summer, practice starts early August, and the numbers of football players, maybe not at Holmen, but in the state of Wisconsin and throughout the country at the high school level has declined, and partly perhaps because of that.
Well, coming from a guy who has contemplated not coaching football for the sole reason of how early it starts. You know, and it would be a much different scenario for me if I didn't go back-to-back seasons, I think. I'm basically a coach from August until March without any breaks, and that's hard on families. It's hard on you feeling like you're being a good father, a good husband, whatever the case may be. And then you're a teacher, you have summers off, you're supposed to have some time to relax, and then you have team camps and you have weightlifting and things of that nature. So, you know, to me, it's like I feel like sometimes the batteries don't even get rejuvenated. And it's not a me thing, but I think if I feel that, then what does a kid feel?
Exactly, and the numbers of kids that don't go out because it starts too early is kind of a concern. Let's just transition quickly to, you said your family. Now you're just like my wife, my children. They were always very supportive of me coaching 3 sports and being as active and involved as I am, and as you know. You have a daughter, Finley, and then a wife who's a teacher too. Is that a challenge for you to try to balance that, though?
Oh, yeah. Well, if I wouldn't have the wife I'd have, I probably wouldn't be able to do the things I'm able to do. The fact that she's a teacher and we have similar schedules, the understanding of probably what it takes in a leadership role. You know, being a teacher, you kind of see both sides of it. You see the parents' views of it. You see the admin side of it. And, you know, it's very much the same in a sport. You're the admin of that program. And you know, I think being so close to those things helps her understand and helps me be able to do what I like to do. You know, is it selfish? Sometimes I think, you know, is this selfish? But I have a wife and family that understands what I'm able to maybe bring forward to other people too, and you know, her sharing me and sharing some of the other things I'm able to do. She knows. You know, she knows that there's good coming of it, so I think that's why it makes it okay.
Yeah, and of course you came from that lifestyle as you grew up. But again, our guest today, Jason Lulloff from Holmen High School, multi-sport coach, teacher, and so on. Let's transition backwards a little bit to growing up. Okay, you grew up and you were a tremendous athlete at Kiel High School. But let's go even back before that. Was there somebody that sort of planted a seed, inspired you to be an athlete, and even perhaps to be a coach?
My dad. My dad was my wrestling coach. Throughout the youth, he was an assistant high school wrestling coach, so from 4 years on, I went to all the practices with him. I'm not so sure if it was because he wanted me at the practices or if it was like a daycare thing, like that was the only way he could coach us if I was there. But either way, I was fortunate enough to be there. And I think just being around high school athletes at age 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, all the way up, that was what fueled everything. I just wanted to, I wanted to compete. I can remember running halls with them and doing the wind sprints. And I mean, like I would try and beat the high schoolers like in 2nd grade. Like I'd try. I never did, but there came a time though where at a young age I was starting to, you know, kind of hang with them. So
wow, and you were inspired at that young of an age, 4 years old. So your dad was really the kind of the driving force behind you getting so excited about competing.
Oh, for sure. And you know, just being that he's a coach and you know, my dad was really intelligent with how he handled me, whether he wanted me to be a wrestler or not, but he never pressured me into any of it. It was always, I was around it, and hey, Dad, you know, can I do that? Sure you can. What would you like to do? You know, it was always my choice, and I think that was a big key to the drive that I was able to sustain throughout college and even beyond that.
So it wasn't forced upon you. It was the seed was planted, and it was more encouragement, and you bought into it. Well, 2-time state finalist. You won the championship at Kiel High School as a senior. You played football. You played baseball. You even dabbled in track and field and soccer in the summer. You did all of those things. So you didn't specialize at an early age, but you kind of got your feet wet in different sports, which is exactly what my grandchildren do and I promote. Defining moments during high school. Did you have any?
All my losses. I can remember, this is one of the things I struggle with as a coach. Now, I watch kids compete, and they compete their hearts out and just lay everything on the line. And I don't think much of that has changed between like the great ones and the good ones. But there seems to me like some people can move on so quickly from a loss. I couldn't. I could not. I remembered my losses. If you go on my desk right now, there's a picture of the last person who beat me in wrestling. And he'll always be there.
How did that inspire you?
I just stare at it and think to myself, that guy is better than me. And that just drives me nuts.
Was that your motivating force? So you talk about defining moments. Was there a silver lining to those losses?
I mean, I kept track of my losses. I didn't keep track of how many wins I had. I kept track of my losses, and I always try and keep that number as low as possible. But I realized, like, whenever I would lose, I would train differently, right? Like you get beat, whoa, someone's better than me. I better do something different. I better pick it up. Better train harder. Better pay attention. Better work, work more diligently. And I would always try and make a change after a loss. I wasn't very good at making a change when I was winning, because I was winning, and so I think my defining moments were all the losses I got handed to me, and that was.
But that demonstrates to me and to our viewers, I'm sure, the character in exactly who you are, Jason Lulloff, because that inspired you to even become better. Where some people, and I've had this advice given to me, some people become deflated and sour and become a defeatist person, while others take setbacks and become much better, and that was you. We're going to take a quick break and come back more here on Seven Rivers Sports.
With our busy lives, it's a comfort to know that we can still remember loved ones in a traditional way with a monument. Lewiston Monuments in Lewiston, Minnesota has been helping families purchase a monument for over 4 generations. You'll find a large selection of beautiful granite, marble, and bronze monuments, all at competitive prices. And they're a full-service company, so they also do straightening, cleaning, and repair of monuments. Stop in or call for a no-obligation consultation, or visit lewistonmonument.com for more information.
At Schneider Heating and Air Conditioning, we have assembled a championship team
who listens to what your needs are.
We install carrier comfort systems that improve the comfort, efficiency, and the air quality of your home and workplace.
We serve you with highly trained technicians who are prompt, friendly, and honest.
For Gold Star treatment, turn to the experts, Carrier and Schneider Heating and Air Conditioning.
Schneider Heating and Air Conditioning, your comfort is our business.
Welcome back to Seven Rivers Sports. Again, our guest today, Jason Lulloff, a teacher, coach, strength and conditioning instructor at Holmen High School. 2018 Sports Person of the Year. Not too many people get that. I remember reading that article in December of 2018, which was a huge accomplishment. You talked about growing up and being an athlete at Kiel High School. Quickly, then you chose the right school. You chose UW La Crosse, and you became a 4-time All-American, had a record of 140 wins and 22 losses for one of the better wrestling programs in Division III in the United States. That was a special time for you.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how I ended up at La Crosse, actually. I'll say it was not my first choice. My first choice was to be a Badger. And they basically told me, that's not happening. Maybe you should look into Division II and III schools. I was on crutches. I had some screws in my foot. I had just kind of wasn't in a great spot to be recruited at that moment, and was told that and thought, oh, hey, these guys know what they're talking about. I'm not a Division I athlete. So I quickly switched gears and started scrolling through Division III schools and saw that La Crosse wrestled the Badgers their first duel of the year. And I said, that's where I'm going. I didn't know anything about lacrosse, to be honest. After the fact, I figured out that it was a really awesome, perfect fit for me. Being like fishing and hunting and bluffs and river and, you know, all these things that would just happen to fall into my lap as to things I enjoy. So
Well, your family, your dad a wrestling coach, your family, were they supportive of you coming to lacrosse?
oh yeah, that was 100% my choice where I wanted to go. And like I said, my whole life I was going to be a Badger. I was going to be a Badger wrestler. And I was told no, that I probably wouldn't be a fit there. I probably couldn't make it as a walk-on. So I found a team that wrestled Division I competition because I wanted to prove myself. I did. I wanted to see what I could do. And so I probably had a lot of those losses are Division I. So I got my opportunity.
Well, when you think of Jason Lulloff, you think of a couple things at Holmen. First of all, it was a gift for this community and for Holmen in particular to be able to hire you as a teacher and a coach. But you got immediately getting hired, you became involved in the wrestling program, and you coached under Ross Needham.
Yep.
And then and then you took over the program yourself. But you took the team as a state qualifier 6 times. You've increased the number of wrestlers to now 80+ wrestlers, 20 of those girls. And when you think of wrestling in the state of Wisconsin, you would put your finger on the map and you'd point to Holmen, Wisconsin, and there's been some success there, but you've taken it to a completely different level. Talk about 2 things. One, the increase in numbers, and then developing a program for girls.
Well, numbers is something I target every year. I always tell my team, power in numbers. If you aren't being pushed by somebody, where are you going? You got to have somebody behind you that's trying to take your spot. And I thoroughly believe in that. If you're on an island by yourself, it's really easy to just relax and be content with what's happening. So that's always been my thing, power in numbers. And to get that, I built staff from the middle school, youth, high school, tried to surround as many. And I'm fortunate. I've got UWL right here, and I've got a lot of former teammates and UWL alum that get involved, and former head coaches that are coaching at the middle school. So, you know, experienced people that really are respected and know what they're doing. You know, that helps with retention.
And then how did you get girls excited, though? That is always piqued my interest.
Through one announcement, being on the WIA coaches advisory, there's, you know, we get to hear things a little bit before they come into play, and I was hearing women's wrestling. I thought I can support women's wrestling. That would be great. I think that's a great thing. So I threw out one announcement 2 years ago before Thanksgiving. Said, any girls interested in wrestling, come see me. I had 4. On the Thursday before we got let out, or the Wednesday before we got let out for Thanksgiving. So that kind of surprised me. They took time when they, you know, out the doors, long weekend, you think they just go, but no, they stopped, came and found me, said, I'm interested. So we let them join and got them going, and those couple of girls had a blast. I did a few things with them, took some photos, professional photos in their uniforms, and built it into like a poster looking thing. And the following year, I got that poster of those girls that looked really, really nice. I got them to put it on Snapchat. And so that kind of travels. That's how kids communicate. And I got it on Snapchat. I had a couple of kids, whatever you call it, not tweeting it out, but snapping it out to people. And I set up things online so that they could get information without coming to talk to me. Because, you know, hey, women's wrestling, come talk to me. Mm-hmm. If you're shy, do you really want to go talk to someone who's 6'4" and been wrestling their whole life? Probably not. So it's going to be a lot easier to show your interest in other ways. So I created that channel in which they could show they were interested, and through that I emailed out, and I emailed more info and told them why I wanted some girls to get involved, and explained where women's wrestling might go, and kind of encouraged them to be pioneers and set the tone for where this is in the state, and they all bought into it, and poof.
And of course, yeah, and it's, and you think of Holmen, you think of boys wrestling, but now girls wrestling. I got a lot of other things to ask you, so I'm going to just build on what you just said with this question. There are different schools of thought on high school coaching based on kind of taking the model of the college coaches where they recruit athletes and so on. That's a big part, certainly, of college. Everyone knows that. But some coaches at the high school level feel that if students want to come out for their sport, fine. If they don't, fine too. Others, and I think this would be you, others market to students.
Oh, yeah.
They recruit students that are maybe on the threshold of not participating for a variety of reasons. You take that approach, which is my approach to coaching too, don't you?
For sure. I go on the lunch line. Do you do any sports? And it's not just wrestling. Do you do any sports? You should get involved in something. What are you interested in? And if they don't give me something, how about wrestling? You got to ask the kids, because a lot of them are sitting there. This is the majority of their answer. Never thought about that.
Okay, but I absolutely agree with that. And what a profound statement. I hope our viewers really can appreciate what you are talking about. Because there are so many young people that, because maybe they have weight issues, they don't feel good about their academic or their athletic gifts. There could be a variety of reasons. And it just takes one person to plant a seed and to show some absolute interest in them. And it could make a huge difference in their life.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people view wrestling, too, as an individual sport. And in a lot of schools it is. It's very individual. Not in Holmen. One of the main things I told our staff is we'll make this very much so team. Because that's how you get everybody involved. And if you want power in numbers, you have to make it team-friendly.
I agree. Well, let's move to... I'm going to ask our producer if we can extend this show about another hour, because that's how many things I have to ask you. But let's move to something which is really kind of a gift to Holmen too, and that's your strength training intensive exercise program, where you get I don't know, 100 kids at 6 o'clock in the morning come and work on their strength, work on their conditioning, work on toning, and you name it. That has been, it's sort of been the hallmark, I think, in this area and perhaps throughout the state of getting kids involved in an exercise program.
It's very interesting how that all evolved. It's my passion first, so selling it to other people when you believe in it and love it, and you know, I think that's easier. But when I first started in Holmen, I walked into the weight room on the first day, and it was interesting because I was expecting, I'm from a little town of Kiel, there's going to be a ton of people in this weight room. And I walked in and I was kind of like, whoa, what's going on? Where is everybody? And I just knew that we needed to do something different, because it was a number of years that it was like that. And I didn't get many opportunities to necessarily kind of grab the bull by the horns as far as the weight training part of it, because I was the young person. I don't want to step on anyone's toes. I know there's a lot of people that put a ton of time and effort into what was already happening, and it was good. But I kind of saw like the marketing part of it, like, right, if we want numbers, we gotta figure out what appeals to them. And so I kind of changed my thought process on getting people involved, and that's kind of how my program, the opportunity came where people who were doing things left, and I was able to step in, and that's how it came to be.
I don't think any program in the area, and there's a lot of good ones, but have anywhere near the success that you have. What's interesting to me as we close the show is a lot of experts talk about the fact that adolescence is a critical transitionary period in people's lives, and what if they're exposed to weight training and so on. And certainly there's emerging issues, but better grades, better school attendance, a decrease in type 2 diabetes, controlling weight, mental health issues are sometimes put on a different path in terms of anxiety, depression. And so it's not just for athletes either, is it?
No, not at all. Actually, there's several people who are not athletes that participate. And so we, being a Phi Ed teacher, I get to see a lot of these kids. And I have a class called Totally Fit Wellness that I started, and it's basically sets the tone for you to find a way to continue this outside of class. It gives you, a lot of people are scared of getting involved with something because they don't know how and they don't know why. Well, I got an opportunity in a class to teach you the how and the why so that you have the skill set to carry it forward.
I'll bet you if we had time to ask for some examples of young people that it's changed their life, it's changed their academic efficiency. It's changed exactly how they feel about themselves. We could find some great examples, but I'd like to have you back at some point, perhaps during the winter, as you get close to wrestling, talk a little bit more about that, and maybe talk about a couple of other subjects like specialization. I know that wasn't you because you were a multi-sport athlete at Holmen High School. Talk about what we can do to improve the quality of health and fitness for young people. So that's a subject in itself, and maybe when you come back we can discuss that. But it's been a pleasure. You've taken a break from contact days and football. Again, as we tape the show here on July 23rd, football ahead, and then wrestling. And you certainly have made a difference in the community of Holmen. So we want to thank you for that, and thank you for being our guest on the show today.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
All right. We'll be back with some closing thoughts right after this.
At Schneider Heating and Air Conditioning, we have assembled a championship team
Who listens to what your needs are.
We install carrier comfort systems that improve the comfort, efficiency, and the air quality of your home and workplace.
We serve you with highly trained technicians who are prompt, friendly, and honest.
For Gold Star treatment, turn to the experts, Carrier and Schneider Heating and Air Conditioning.
Schneider Heating and Air Conditioning. Your comfort is our business.
When you're faced with the decision of selecting a monument to honor someone dear to you, call Lewiston Monuments for a no-obligation consultation. Lewiston Monument is a full-service monument company, serving families in Iowa, Minnesota, and Wisconsin for over 4 generations. You'll find beautiful granite, marble, and bronze memorials, all at competitive prices. Their experts can help you design the perfect and unique memorial. Lewiston Monument. Call today or on the web at lewistonmonument.com.
Thanks for joining us this week here on 7 Rivers Sports. I'm your host, Terry Erickson, hoping that you will have an active and a healthy week ahead.